Yeah, 2ing 3 as a mouth makes just so much sense.
Yeah.
Like they're also the mouthpiece that needs to just be communicating and like spreading the love in like a glittery, packageable, like palatable way. When a 2ing 1 is invited, then it's very much like, okay, you've invited me, it's my way.
Right.
This is how we're doing it because I have the answers and you don't.
Yep.
Whereas 2ing 3 will kind of push itself on you, but then try to like work with you for what's the best like
They're
outcome
still
for you.
selling it.
Yeah.
The big hormone Enneagram.
Hi, I'm John Lukovich, sexual self-pres 4-5 wing, 4-5-8 trifix.
Hi, I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual 9 with 1, 9-7-4 trifix.
What up? It's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing-7, sexual self-pres with 8-5-4 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I am a self-pres social 3, wing 4, with a 3-6-9 trifix. If you like our podcast, guys, make sure you go like and subscribe on the Apple Podcast app. And if you really like us, you should definitely leave us a review.
So we're talking shit about twos today. Let's get the intro
Talk shit
before.
about twos.
Yeah, this should be really tough.
Should be well received.
Be
Yeah,
really
that's
hard
the
talking
thing.
shit about twos.
At this point, they should have
It's my
some
favorite
callous skin as all for all the shit that we've talked. Know that we've already apologized, and we're not going to apologize again. So that means you're just taking pain from here on out.
Yeah.
You should know what to expect.
I mean, we might have touched on something like this, but last night Alexandra had a good just interpretation of wings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we were kind of like getting into like the structure of the Enneagram of like, how does like trifix with wings work, right? Like if I'm a 4 with a 5, like is that crossing into the mental center versus a mental fix? And I don't know if you want to take it from there, baby, but it might be kind of good to have this at the beginning of a wing conversation.
I mean, I'll have to remember what I said. I think we've kind of covered it before, that it's not necessarily, like, for example, a 2ing 1 isn't necessarily heart energy mixed with body energy, but rather it's body energy supporting the heart energy's objective. You know, kind of like...
No, but you were saying something like that it's not like a 2-wing 1 is like more body than a 2-wing 3 or something, that it's that it's
right.
frustration in service of the heart center's agenda, the rejection agenda.
Yeah,
or
that's
versus
what I mean.
attachment in service of the rejection agenda. Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So wait,
we'll find a way to like say it organically. I don't remember how I must have said it that seemed to land.
so you're saying that the way the wings work, that it's not necessarily the saying, like, for example, 8-wing-7 isn't necessarily more head centered than 8-wing-9. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's a frustrated rejection. You know, like the frustrated rejection of the nurturing. It's like frustration in service of the 8 shit.
Yeah, and like a sort of like maybe like a heady idealism in service of 8 also, that like just clears the path for 8 to just keep going.
Well, I from my point of view, energetically, it does feel that the centers do play a role in the way. I mean, all that stuff is true, the frustration, but you could mistake an 8-wing-7 for a 7. There's a reason for that, and because there is more of a headiness to 8-wing-7, or you can mistake a 4-wing-5 for a 5. You know what I'm saying? So like there is something, I don't know how structurally to map that out, but there is something about like that center, if you're crossing to another center, that can obscure what that type looks like.
Also, like we've said, like 8 with a 9 is like really solid, you know, mountain energy, and 8 with a 7 has more kind of erratic quality.
But I guess like a structural question of it is 8-wing-7 like actually tapping more into the mental center with the wing, or is it that 8 rejection 8 with this added frustration thing brings a more mental quality. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
that's more like my objective with the whole thing is like I feel like people will say that like 4-wing 5 is like equal parts heart and equal parts head, or equal parts image and equal parts head. Same thing with 8-wing 7. They'll be like, I'm a body type, but I'm also a head. Like I also am kind of a head type because of the wing, where that's the part that I'm kind of pushing against. Like, no, they're both body types. Both 8-wing 7 and 8-wing 9 are body types, but the 7-wing lends kind of like a heady frequency to sort of speed up a body type, whereas like a 9-wing is going to keep it pretty sedentary.
In terms of like the percentages, I've imagined that if you, for example, the types that are crossing into another center where that's more noticeable, that, you know, what percentage is the wing playing a role in the core type, even if it's within the structure of a core type? I'm thinking it's no more than like 20 to 30%, if you want to give a number. Like it's still it's not equal. There's not even close to being equal.
Yeah.
So the people who might say, oh, I'm, you know, confusing core type versus wing, that's not what's really going on. But, you know, the argument for frustration, for example, if you were taking an 8-wing 9 and you made that 8-wing 9 as frustration-y as possible with the other fixes, like 7 fix and 4 fix, is that 8-wing 9 going to seem anything like an 8-wing 7 who does just have an 8-wing, maybe just a 7-wing, but doesn't have any other frustration going on?
I see.
We just did an episode on a question that I had that I think, or we discussed it, we just riffed on it, that I think the wing influence is much more immediate and stronger than the fixes, because it's ingrained into the core type structure, which is everything else is contained. And so, for example, more people are more likely to see John's 5 or my 7 before they might see the other fixes, because we're going into the other centers and they're kind of nested into the core type. And so I think there is something to the center of the wing, you know, influencing the core type. Like 8-wing 7 seem very different from 8-wing 9s because of that. This is double bodied versus this has got some head center mixed in.
It's that word that I've used before. The wing stylizes the type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't have anything much deeper than that.
Thank you, David.
Just thought I'd repeat myself for the 6th time.
his one line.
But it's an
You
interesting.
don't have to talk for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah. Also, it stylizes the core.
Bye.
Done.
Till
Clocked
next
out.
week.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Applause
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
This is the part where you clap. It is interesting though, because there's nothing really in the literature that outlines how the fuck wings work, and so we're just theorizing here.
Yeah.
But you know, like just the experience that I've had in trying to make distinctions between types, it does seem that the center of the wing is pretty significant influence, not just the triads and the harmonics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know we're doing 2, but like just knowing it from point of view of my type, and you know, like we were having this discussion last night, and how, you know, 4-wing 3 is kind of still having that attachment wing that sort of, it's like knowing what to push against, you know, like there's a little bit of
That's
attaching, like, okay, this is like what's going on out there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be better and fancier and more beautiful and all those other things.
Yeah, and push away from it and
Pushing.
individualize out of it.
Yeah, so like I'm still drawing from a certain collection of signs and signifiers to distinguish myself. But that's like that there's an attachment-y thing there, you know, like the aristocrat.
Yeah, an aristocrat is an aristocrat because it is witnessed as such by other people.
Right.
Like
Versus,
the 3 wings need to be witnessed. The 2 and 3.
And it's part of the system or whatever, the hierarchy, as opposed to 4 with a 5, which is like just like total decouple from the
Exactly.
world.
I mean, using this centers crossover thing, like I'm as a 4-wing 5, it's like I think my identity structure is like conceived of as more symbolic. You know, it's like more within a symbolic realm, and so therefore there's this pushing away from everything because I'm like going into kind of like not imagination is not the right word, but like an imagination space to say this is me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm using frustration, and then there's a rejection little window dressing or whatever to like keep it just away from the world in a more non-physical place.
Yeah, it's almost like the 5's sort of abstract matrix applied to the 4 core singular image, whereas the 4-wing 3 is like I have to elevate myself above the trash. So there's like a double image of, royalty has to be elevated or separated. Not just it has to be shown that I'm separate from them over there.
Right.
So it has almost like a pseudo social aspect to it because of the 3-wing, because there has to be the attachment to not them of the attachment image wing, whereas the 4-wing 5 is just like what I am is such a abstract, untouchable, unknowable matrix that you can't get to it.
It's double withdrawn, so it's like there's nothing for me in this world.
Yep. All right, you want to talk T's now?
Do your intro.
All right.
Use your sexy DJ voice.
Very white voice.
My sexy
Good
DJ voice.
morning. Yeah.
Good morning. Another hormonal morning for you. We're doing it again.
In the morning.
In the morning. Yeah, these morning recordings are very odd. Like for me, just like
Speak for yourself.
I have not woken up yet.
Right.
It's nighttime here.
Yeah, we are going back to give you Pain Piggies a little exploration of wings again after teasing y'all for weeks and weeks and weeks.
You notice nobody said anything about them missing the 2 wings. No one said anything. Hey, when are the 2 wings going to drop?
Well, they don't want to.
Which type are they annoying about? Was it the 9s?
They were jonesing for the just the 8, 9, and 1, but I've not seen anyone say, "Hey, when's the 2 wings going to drop?"
Well, that's like going to be the start of it. The whole image triad is going to be afraid for their episodes to drop.
Yeah.
I saw people being like, "Oh, get to 7 or something like that."
Get to 4 or 5.
Yeah,
Of course, the 7s
Always
would
4
say
and 5.
get to 7.
Yeah.
That's why they're going to be last.
That's why they're going to.
That's why they always deserve.
2023. Hope you have patience.
Can you wait 5 minutes for the 7 episodes?
Can you wait 2 years?
Yeah.
Feels like
for
the same
something
thing.
to be about you,
Right.
All right. So, we say the same shit all the time, but it's because we are all poor, struggling artistes. And so if you could buy and rate my book, please, or review my book on wherever you bought it from, I would really appreciate it. And holidays coming up. So if you're trying to indoctrinate people into our cult of the Enneagram, please give them my book. We got
that's the minimum tribute to membership to this cult is
minimum tribute.
Buying John's book, membership to DAA. If you haven't gotten typed by Enneagrammer, who are you? I don't even recognize your personhood.
Type is wrong. Your type is wrong if you haven't been officially typed.
If you're sending a message to me and you haven't even paid us money in any capacity, you're invisible.
Get out.
You're not even a person.
This is our big money-making scheme, this whole podcast.
Yeah, it just roast you.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that well.
We're just trying to pay rent, people. Trying to pay rent so we can just record these podcasts that you guys love so much.
Isn't this a great marketing plan?
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I'm saying that is because I always get online, I always see people saying that we have our interpretation of the Enneagram that most people are wrong because it's a way for us to make money, and it's like that's why we have just no courses. We're not ever teaching courses or anything yet, and we're just giving all this shit away for free.
Yeah. We're producing a video every week, and we're only charging $19 a month.
Yeah.
That's
right.
People are talking about we're just trying to make money. It's literally if you $19 a month is all you need to get access to over 50 videos that we've made.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of models out there that make a lot more money to rip from that we have not. And have no intention to. Study group. I get into a study group, going section by section through my book. It's going pretty slow, but it's good. It's like slow, not in a bad way. It's like we take our time with different sections, and the recordings are available. It's all $15 a class or video, and it's got a good group of people meeting regularly and discussion and practice, and a lot of stuff I couldn't fit into the book. A lot of just Enneagram stuff, a lot of fourth way stuff, and a lot of biology stuff and just rantings of a damaged brain, just going off sometimes. So it's really good. It's on Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern time.
DAA, we've been doing more topical videos because you guys love them so much. We did a recent class on rejection fixes. We did a class looking at social self-pres versus self-pres social.
Nice.
Not only those stackings, but the way we look at the collages of those stackings. And then we also just did one on 3 wings. We've been doing wings of the types that we get the most. So 9, 6, and 3, and then hopefully 7 soon. And also, if you want to be recognized as a person, get typed by Enneagrammer.
If you want to get past Emika's rejection wall of steel, then
get typed by Enneagrammer.
Have your presence acknowledged monetarily.
Get typed by Enneagrammer at enneagrammer.com. And
he'll say your name.
Yeah.
Live on the air.
Maybe. I'll look at you.
Yeah.
A glance.
But yeah. Oh, so yeah, Josh's What It's Like to Be You. Like Joseph told us that he got interviewed, or they finally did their interview, and he said it was great.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's going to be some good ones coming
Good. Alexandra, you're doing one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bermuda on Bermuda. We'll see if it goes anywhere at all.
Be asking questions. You'll respond to a question with a question.
We hung out the other day just as like a sort of like a precursor to the interview. Like, let's just talk about what we're going to talk about. And it immediately went into like meta land of talking about attachment, watching other attachment, and the da-da-da-da-da. So who knows if it'll actually be on the ground human conversation. We'll see.
What else we got to plug?
Huh?
What else we plugging?
Oh, I am still doing astrology readings.
Not blast first.
Emika, shut it, okay? I'm still doing astrology readings. They've been really fun, and they've been really informative. Yeah. Yeah, just come on down.
We got a promoter here.
No, but all right, what Alexander's done readings for people that I've been coaching and stuff like this, and like some of them are non-believers in anything astrological, cool. Much less anything spiritual. And nonetheless, they've been extremely impressed with Alexandra and just reading them up and down. And not only does she give a good reading, she's also really good at showing specifically what she's saying, where it's originating in the chart. So it's not just that you're getting a reading, you're learning a lot about what it means to interpret what's in the chart. And it's helped people to, like, especially I've seen with attachment types, it's been really useful because it gives really powerful mirroring. Like the attachment types that can struggle sometimes with landing on my specific sense of self. And it's like, here are these forces in your chart that you have recognized as elements in your life, but you've not quite known how to hold on to them in a certain way. And so that's been a useful thing because some people who've worked with her have been like, yeah, she the Venus and the Saturn and it's like this, and and it's helped me recognize these two parts of myself are equally valid, and it's not like I'm cheating somebody because I'm not showing one or the other side, and that kind of stuff has been really valuable. So it's not just what's this little thing going on, and we've talked about theories of what the chart, like we touched on it, of like what it represents. And so the combination of Enneagram and astrology, there is a relationship, and the only one that's really tuned into that relationship in a real way is Alexandra Arroyo Acevedo.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I've had mostly attachment types, and it's been really fun to do this with the attachment types because it's always like 9s with very attuned but also very like vicious charts. So like we've had some fucking like vicious 9 charts where like I'll like mirror that
Joker
in their
nines.
chart of like you have a ton of aggressive energy that is trapped by this one thing, and there's
Dumber nines.
it's usually and it's usually
Dumber.
like a shy smile and a look down in response of like, haha bitch, I know it, I see it. I've also had a 3 not too long ago who had a very, very intense emotional energy. Like it was like, and the 3 thing is like not necessarily knowing where your emotions are coming from, or like what is a response to image versus what is a response to yourself. So that's been very cool to kind of illuminate, like, you've got it. Just, close your eyes and express it, basically.
Don't be Ted Bundy.
Yeah, don't be don't be a serial killer. Attachment types is what we're learning here.
You got to find some good 6 serial killers and just like,
Oh, there's probably a bunch.
yeah, just
Yeah, there's got to be a bunch.
continuously harp
feel
on
like
attachment.
I feel like 6s are like accidental. I feel like the serial killers that could be 6s are like, whoops, I killed another person again. Oh no,
And I did it again.
It happened. No, it's just like accidental.
I have the controversial opinion that I don't think 6s would be very good serial killers.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think they're too.
I'd like to train them, maybe.
Courses coming soon.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if 6s kill, it's by mistake.
Yeah, 6 is having like an inner meltdown because they killed somebody and they want to kill again. But like, what if I do this?
Yeah, and they just immediately turn themselves in. Of like,
Thinking of all
dude,
the possibilities, yeah.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, that would be a good character, like like the 6 serial killer.
Yeah.
Like these like sort of recurring characters that we sometimes have, just like this 4 cop and the 6 serial killer.
4s is thinking about killing somebody, they just kill themselves.
Yeah,
Right,
totally.
Yeah.
But
No,
I could
4s
just
are
kill
not thinking
me.
outside. 4s are not thinking outside of themselves long enough to be like, I'm going to kill this person.
No, actually, the person that they keep plotting to kill is themselves. It's just
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end of the episode, it turns out to be
I'll
to
get
be
me
me.
eventually.
We love it.
All right.
2
Big time.
wings.
So
We love our 2s.
love our 2s, and so
No, we don't.
what we've been talking about with the wings is the way that the wings, in a sense, aid in or support or influence the agenda of the core type. And so for 2, as a rejection type, it's got a frustration wing in 1 and an attachment wing in 3. And with the attachment wing, I mean, what I think is always pretty apparent, especially with a 3 wing, is that there's a real need for the 2's self-image to be seen and witnessed and recognized, and I think like just like 2 wing 3 energy for me is very, very clear.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
Very,
These are the 2s we complained about.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's very big
Yeah, and the fixes.
Sorry.
And the fixes. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, it's because it's just like, I mean, when it's like a healthy energy, it can be like fun and really great and kind of like there's a 7-ishness to it, but
Totally. Yeah. There's like super charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a ton of like hammy hostess energy that comes from 2 wing 3.
Yeah, I think of 2 with a 1 as like the love worker, and 2 with a 3 is like the love salesman.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that works.
Salesman.
Yeah.
They're gonna love that.
I don't remember what what Reese and Hudson
good.
call 2 wing 1, but 2, maybe it's the servant or something like this. But
Yeah, I think something
2 wing
like
3 they call the host or hostess, which
that. There you go.
my mom is a self-pres 2 wing 3, and that's like, she's not a very social person, but she's definitely got that energy.
My mom is 2 wing 3 with 7 and 8 fixes, so this is the most extroverted 2 you can imagine, and she is one of the most assertive. She's so nice on the surface, but it's like you got to be careful around her because all of a sudden you're just doing things for her. And so she's asking you to do things because she's giving you, attention or whatever. But we just did a class on 3 wing 2 versus 3 wing 4, and one of the distinctions that we discovered, at least a quick way to tell the difference, is how animated and how goofy 3 wing 2 can be compared to 3 wing 4, and that 3-2-2-3 space is very like you said, 7-ish in how, I don't know, what's the word? Just,
It's really upbeat.
yeah, just really
Playful.
upbeat, assertive about emotional energy and charming.
Yeah, well, it has that assertive quality that 7 has, and it has the positive outlook that 7 also has.
Another way to say it is the 3-wing gives the 2 more permission to express the pride.
Yeah.
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 Say that again. The 3-wing gives the 2 more permission to express the pride. Okay.
Whereas a
I don't know,
1,
again.
there's like superego about actually doing the work, doing the goodness, kind of getting your hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
2 of the 3 is often, to me, it's almost like queen energy sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Emeka, when you were growing up, did your mom have did she host parties or something for?
Dude, she just hosted a party last weekend. Like an old people's
For no
party
reason.
for the reason of surviving another year, her and my dad, and just had 25 people, had all this food catered.
Oh, that's
and then,
when I was texting you about.
Yeah. And then she got up and she told a story, and basically her ranting for 15 minutes about how they survived their illnesses, and my dad got up and told a story, and then they sang songs. And
Oh my God, that's
this was a whole
very
production.
cute,
I'm just
actually.
sitting there, just what? Why am I here? What am I doing? But I mean, just my mom throws these fucking big parties and gets people to come out, and she's just she's a nurse, but she said that if she hadn't gone into nursing, she would have been like a TV broadcast announcer or something like that. She's a mouth. She is
amazing.
but she's also a troll. And this idea of 2s that are nice, my mom presents the image of being nice, but
7 and 8 fixes. That's
Yeah.
troll energy.
she's a big troll.
True.
She's a big
That's
troll.
so funny.
You think I'm the nice one in my family? That's what you you guys don't understand. If you met the rest of my family, you make so much more sense now.
Emeka's actually a nice person.
Because a sweetie. Yeah, 2ing 3 as a mouth makes just so much sense.
Yeah.
They're also the mouthpiece that needs to just be communicating and spreading the love in a glittery, packageable, palatable way. My mom has a 2ing 3 fix. She's a 9 with a 2ing 3 second. And me being a 9 also, I feel like I just see the 2 way more clearly because just the core just gets canceled out. So my mom is just constantly, she's the one that will get up and make toasts. She's the one that will get up in front of the family and for Thanksgiving, she stands up and she's already crying for no reason, already tearing up.
Tears already in the chamber.
Already in the chamber. Yeah. And she gets up and she's like, okay, everybody, I want you to tell everyone what you are thankful for this Thanksgiving. And
Can't
she
stand
talks
that
about
shit.
the importance of family and the importance of togetherness, and we have to look out for each other, and family is just all there is, all that kind of stuff. She loves to be the channel for everlasting love.
I'm now in the family group chat.
Oh my God.
And,
Oh boy.
Emoji queen.
Yeah, emoji
Oh
queen.
man,
and
2s with the heart emoji.
and most of it's in Spanish, but there's all these there's a lot of the the one with the big eyes with the tear coming out, or
Oh yeah, the Stockholm face.
yeah, the Stockholm face. There's a lot of I'm trying to pull up but yeah, it's
Nancy, is your mom, do you think her 2 fixes 2ing 3 or 2ing 1?
Kind of tricky because she's social sexual, and I think
that's a bit hard.
And behind an 8, right? Your mom's an 8.
Yeah, I
Well,
almost
imagine your mom as a 2ing 1 just from that
I got that too.
brief moment, because with a social sexual and an 8, she still had kind of there's a
no
dutiful
funny
firmness
business.
in the way she was welcome, it wasn't
it's not a host because she's not really a host.
Yeah.
She's very uncomfortable hosting, so I don't.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
there you go.
2ing 1, yeah, because 2ing 3 has that thing where it's not the way the 3-wing comes in is it's not going to be able to do its too loving job. It knows that it's not going to be able to do its too loving job unless it's accepted, which is where the 3-wing comes in, because 3-wing knows how to sell itself and knows how to get the acceptance of other people. Whereas a 2-wing 1, it does have a more dutiful, no funny business quality of this is what needs to be done. I don't care if it's well received or not. It's just what has to happen. Michelle Obama is a
2-ing 1, yeah.
Yeah, she's not exactly I wouldn't really want to cuddle up with her.
No, she's not. Yeah, she's like a behind the scenes, gets a lot of shit done. That's what that energy feels like. Where 2 and 3, like at least the way I experienced my mom, there's an element of she'll do something, but she needs to get everyone on board with her being this, that her intentions were correct or right. Because it feels like 2 and 1's not playing that game as much. They're just behind the scenes, just doing whatever they feel is necessary.
Not doing the sales game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's also that double hexad. Like I know what's up. Just so it's what's up and it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I've come into contact with many 2-ing 3s. All the 2s that I know, and even 2 fixers, are 2-ing 1. Like any 2 I can think of is 2-ing 1.
What's your experience then? Because we've been ragging on 2-ing 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably have an aunt, a mother-in-law. I think there are probably a couple other people, but all 2-ing 1 fixers, or excuse me, 2-ing 1. And there's that like a bit of like a vulture circling its prey until it's alone vibe.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hello. It's like I never want to be alone in the room with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do see a bit of like that. Like, I think I'm thinking of Michelle Obama, actually. That there are so many images of her just looking like a just pissed off bitch.
Yeah.
I see that more accessibly in, not that it's more accessible, but I do see it more accessibly in 2-ing 1.
Yeah. That's a good distinction.
But yet at the same time, like there were nicknames for her, like the hugger in chief, or the first,
oh my
or
god,
the first mother, kind of thing.
First mother sounds so.
I think I would be
very
terrified of hugging that woman, not because of her title, just because of who she is.
Yeah. But the prickly thing is a good, maybe distinction, because anytime you have frustration, you get like an intense prickliness. And so that
there's
makes
a bit
sense.
of like an eggshell experience of like, oh, I might set them off at any moment.
There's also maybe going to be more precision to 2-ing 1's care projectness. They're like the way that they execute it. It's like it has to be done this way, and anything else is like wrong and bad. Whereas 2-ing 3 is going to be more like, I'll wing it and it'll be good. Just as long as you give me the thumbs up, we're good. Like a good example, maybe you guys know who this is, maybe not. Kris Jenner, the Kardashian mom.
Yes.
She's also a self-pressed social, like Michelle Obama. So there's like a direct contrast.
And she's 2-ing 3?
Yes.
She's 2-ing 3 as fuck.
Yeah.
She's just like a huge open smile with hearts coming out.
She's essentially the mastermind behind that whole empire. She planned out whole, leaking the sex tape and all that stuff. Is like, that's an impressive person.
She's wild. She's terrifying.
I would not want that woman as a mother.
No, but it's the same thing too, where like when you see her in interviews, she's like so smiley and she's so charming and she knows how to get people to laugh with her. I don't know what her trifix is. I imagine a 7 and a 1, but
probably something like that.
We'll see. I guess that's all I got for now.
Well, when with the 2-ing 3, because it's got this attachment thing, the hostess name is like pretty good because you can kind of adapt and play a bunch of different roles, and that's like, I think that can be kind of some of the like the frustration of 2-ing 3s in a certain way, because they're doing a lot to try to connect and show what they can do to connect, but it's hard to land on that my specific care project in my specific way. That this bargain is the rejection bargain is established,
right?
And because I'll find that 2-ing 3s or 2-ing 3 fixers, we'll have like a great dynamic or relationship, and then I'll feel them needing to kind of like occupy more shit in a way that, as withdrawn type, I'm like, fuck off, like that feels invasive. But it's like, it's like, we're fine, like this is fine. But I think one of the anxieties that 2-ing 3 can have is they could be doing more in a broad way, like in a broad sense, and So it's like, okay, like as a 2 wing 3, like I'm offering this and this and this, and I'm being charming and stuff like this, but like I'm as a 2 still not feeling the thing I'm trying to feel, right? Like we're all like all of our types, and we're not really getting what we're really seeking. And so then I think they can they can do that overextension in a broad way of like, oh, I'm hosting, but I'm also like promoting, and then I'm also doing this, and and it, like I see that with my mom. Where, like, in contrast to your mom, Emeka, my mom has a 1 fix and a 6 fix. And we didn't really have many parties because my mom gets so, like, completely stressed out, dysregulated by, like, preparing for something that it was like, no.
Yeah.
But whereas 2 with a 1 wing, there's frustration serving the rejection agenda, which is like the 2 wing. The 2 core rejection is like, I'm rejecting the independent, autonomous side of me, and all of me is heart, and all of me is heart in relationship. And so then with the frustration, there's like some way that the heart has to fill in what is wrong, like has to address what is wrong or what is not being
not
like,
ideal.
Yeah, the places in the world where the heart is not actually there where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna like be this like angel going into these trenches, and
like a heart reformer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, oh, there's no heart there. Well, somebody's got to, and there's that thing, and so, and to fulfill that, there is a bit of needing less permeability in your identity, because often those places, so to speak, that are lacking heart or lacking the love or lacking the care, often have a lot of bullshit around it that like structural bullshit that there's a reason there's no heart there,
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I first I went to Catholic school, and I think I learned the Enneagram when I was like at the end of my junior year, and part of my school was like I had to do community service, and there are these like programs or whatever that we had to do, and so I remember going to like I just learned the Enneagram. I went to like a soup kitchen, and Mary Cloud, who introduced the Enneagram to me, her dad's a 2, and we were at the soup kitchen, and I'm starting to like use this lens of the Enneagram, and I noticed that all the men and women that were like the regular leaders of the soup kitchen had an affect like Mary's dad. Mary's dad is a very distinct. He's a 2. He's got just like so much 2 energy, charisma, and he's got a big voice, and he's just, And I was like, it's not a typical, especially in a male, affect.
Right.
But I was seeing both the men and women having this similar quality. I was like, I think these are all fucking 2s, and I think I still feel like that. And in retrospect, 2 wing 1s, it had this sense of like, almost like what is that? Wagner. A symphony, the Valkyries. Yeah, like going into with like a love swords,
love
going
angels.
Love swords.
Yeah, it feels like that the point that you're making about the frustration wing adding like a specificity of wanting to find these lanes where there isn't heart. I'm thinking of how, in contrast, the 3 wing is assertive and attachment, and so there's a way that not only 2 wing 3s need to sell you on stuff, but they're also more likely to cross boundaries in order to sell you on that care project. And so the feeling of the 2 that's gone too far tends to lie more so on the 2 wing 3 side, because it's like the assertiveness of the 3 wing. I have to show you that this is something that you need. And, that complaint seems to be more of a 2 wing 3 thing.
Right. And I think that I have some people in mind that have 2 wing 3 energy that would probably think they have 2 wing 1 energy, because there's this let's see what I'm trying to nail. It's like a sense of, well, part of it is like, being an image type, there's not wanting to expose image as image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess what I'm thinking of is just the ways in which somebody listening might go, oh, I got a 2 wing 1 fix, not a 2 wing 3 fix, because I don't really need to show anybody or something like this, but I just know I'm just thinking of some folks that are like not in their own lane, that like don't stay in their own lane.
Yeah.
And it's this way of I think that the 2 superego can kind of rationalize very quickly to mystify themselves. That's what pride is, It's like a little bit of like, that's not really what I'm doing, Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this good thing over here. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like two different ways of justifying pride. Where it seems like 2ing one with the hexad, it's kind of already predetermined why I'm deserving of this goodwill or why my intentions are good, and I don't have to sell you on it. And then 2ing 3 is much more of a seductive approach where it's like I have to get you enrolled into why I'm, so there's a lot more charm to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big time charm.
Yeah, I often see wings as like the one of the words that we used yesterday while we were all hanging out was with the wingman. The wingman of the
That's
core
good.
type. So when it comes
8 with
to
a 7 wingman.
Yeah, exactly. God, that's terrifying. That's so annoying.
Obnoxious city.
But yeah, 2 with the 3 wingman. The three wingman first is going to come in and like, yeah, make sure you're all buttered up, make sure you're feeling good, make sure you're like impressed with them and like ready to receive their like offering. Because I know that 2 is not an assertive type, but 2 to me feels so assertive. 2 feels often more assertive to me than 3 does because 2 has a specific motive and it's trying to like get in, whereas 3 is just trying to like, 3 is not necessarily trying to get in, but it's trying to get you to just like look. Right? To look and be impressed.
It's also like my thing, you guys talked about the disintegration line. I call it the type that's in the disintegration. I call it having it in your back pocket.
Oh, I love that.
So 2 has 8 in their fucking back pocket.
Yes.
Like 8 is just a tool that they could just pull out of their back pocket. So
yeah,
8 is literally a tool.
Yeah.
And it's obvious.
Yeah, and so I mean that's of course makes for a really strong, present, forceful personality.
2's always with their assertiveness, because I get that vibe from them as well. It always feels like it's a like it comes off as more assertive, but it comes off as more assertive because it feels a bit more fake. But fake isn't really the right word. It like gives me the vibe of like someone who's put into management who doesn't know how to manage and is just putting on a manager role. Like, all right, guys, we're gonna do this, and like comes off very assertive because they're like putting on assertive. Like they're using the tool, but it's not their entire personality.
One of the things about the superego types is like, so assertive types have a solid ego boundary against the outer world and against their own subconscious. Withdrawn types have a open or porous boundary to the outside and to their own subconscious. You don't agree, Alexandra?
I'm not sure. I think I would phrase it differently, but keep going.
And then superego types have like an adaptable boundary where, depending on the message that resonates with their superego, that boundary can be just as hard and
open or closed.
Closed is it was like,
that's fair.
It's like if so, for assertive type, the boundary is my ego agenda, right? It's like all about my ego agenda and asserting it against the world and asserting it even against parts of myself. It's like, this is the overriding agenda. Withdrawn types, it's like I have an ego agenda, but like I'm overwhelmed all the time, and I have to like
yeah, that's fair.
Do a whole lot of recovery, a lot of making sure I let the stuff I've absorbed out of my system in some way. Then the superego types, it's like it's adaptable, but it's not like attachment adaptable. It's like depending on what, like, so first of all, superego does not feel like they're serving their own agenda, right? It doesn't feel like the agenda is like, for a 2, it's not like I want to love. It feels like love is what needs to happen,
Yeah.
And so, and 1, it's like, now, like, I would like to do X, Y, or Z, but no one else is going to do the good thing, so I have to be the good one. It's kind of these messages. And so their boundaries are adaptable based on what resonates with the superego's perspective. And so, for example, if a 2, wow, this is really dumb, but like if a 2 is trying to be loving in some way, and then they realize there is a better way to be loving, suddenly it's like they can kind of go in a whole other direction with it. But it's kind of like it's like open to some things and then really closed off in other ways. And so people are like, well, 1s and 2s can seem like assertive types, or sometimes a 6 when they're in a whole thing, it can seem like harder to reach than an 8 or something. And that's because of the way that superego boundary is working, where if the superego buys in, then the boundary can be as hard as it needs to be.
Yeah. So what does that mean in terms of like, so 2ing 1 in some ways that's the double superego 2. So once they've locked on to their care project, it's a lot harder to get them to see anything else.
Yeah, they can go all the way.
Yeah, whereas a 3-wing, 2-wing 3 can be influenced off of it, I think, out of there, or to like approach it in a different way.
Well, and 2-wing 3 needs a lot more positive feedback along the way, right? Because their image is like the 2-wing 1 can preserve their image through a lot of
well, it's also supported by body resonance. Like they know their image in their body.
The self-justification is in the body.
Yeah. Yeah, so whereas go ahead.
Well, they can just, go way far in a certain direction and not need as much checking in reinforcement or whatever, because that's, even though 2 is so relational, as we've talked about, that double hexad thing is actually not as relational as it seems. It's more about the agenda I can provide.
Yeah.
One of the other things that comes up with 2 is the word seduction, which I think is often probably came from 2s with a 3-wing that have sexual in their stacking.
I agree.
And so the sales style is with, being personally juicy and flattering and having that sexual energy in there.
Yeah, I mean, leverage is another whole topic, and I have not thought about this ahead of time, so I'm basically just throwing it out there as like, let's talk about this too, like how the wings also help the core type, which is a leveraged rejection type, a leverage seeking rejection type. Like how does a 1 help a 2 get emotional leverage? Get image leverage. How does 3? I think it's very obvious in 3 because 3 has like a do I think it's obvious? I haven't thought about this. But anyway, that's another thing to think about. Is 2 still are looking for emotional leverage, for image leverage, for heart leverage, whatever that is, to like have the upper hand on an emotional level.
Yeah. Well, I would say that the 3-wing, I would compare it to the way that 3-wing 2 is doing charm, in that there's we talked about in the Tinder swindler, 3s seduce people based on the emotional attachment of like mirroring some kind of image or heart object that people don't realize that they want. And so the way that 3-wing 2 does it is like with their 2-wing is really using that ability to attach on a heart level to find a vulnerability in the heart space. And it seems like the 2s with the 3-wing use the 3's ability to mirror some kind of like heart ideal of some kind to really get into your heart. Like that charm and seduction is, I think it's very potent with 2-wing 3, whereas 2-wing 1, there's a lot more competency where the way that they do their heart leverage is much more, they're inspiring you because they have found something in the heart space that is the right reform, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I also see it as maybe a 1-wing just knows that they have the leverage almost. Like it's not necessarily about acquiring it. It's more like, I know what you need and only I can give it to you. And so here it is. Whereas 2-wing 3 more needs you to recognize that they're the ones that have it. Like their objective is more like, I see what's going on with you and I have the answers for you. Don't you want it? Isn't it great? Like, would you like it kind of thing?
Yeah. There's more of a back and forth there.
Yeah. I don't have much experience with 2-wing 1, so it's hard for me this is mostly conceptual for me, but like, Yeah, with 2 wing 3, it feels very loud. It feels very much like I have it and I need you to tell me I have it so then I can impart my mission.
Yeah.
Alex Giroux is like a 2-in-1.
right.
He's a death doula,
Mhm.
and so like that's an interesting arena where people like not like part of that I think is like I think like I don't know all the details, but I know that a lot of it is like helping families deal with death. Just like what are the practicals of death? And like I mean that's like not just I don't think it's as much hospice-y kind of stuff for the dying person. I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of it is for the what happens when someone dies kind of a thing that like there is really no guidance or help around,
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a very interesting and very self-pres sexual to energy to go into.
Mhm.
How do you she's a birth doula as well, but like the death doula thing is like very a niche
Yeah.
arena where there's not much love.
Mm,
No one
yeah.
is
That's
no one
good.
wants to be
That's
around
interesting.
a family whose loved one has died, is all grieving and doesn't know how to like put one foot in front of the other and pay for like a casket or like what are the options around a dead body? Like how do you bury it? Like what do you treat it with? And is there like all that kind of stuff? Like death is really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so like how do you prepare for all that and manage all that? So she does that shit, and like what an interesting and strange
Totally.
arena,
I was wondering, because we haven't done a series on frustration, but I've just been thinking about it. John, would you say there's any, like, similar to the way 4 is doing singular heart, that the other frustration types are doing, like, a singular thing in their centers? Like, singular ideal of some kind?
I think so, absolutely.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that even just for, like, the way that 8 does leverage, and it seems that with the 7 wing, you're going to get more of there's a singular leverage point here, and I'm going to occupy it because that basically means that I can just stay here and everything comes to me and I don't have to be attached to anything. Whereas 8-9 is much more attached to the position and building upon that. And it seems like 2-1, something that Alex had said is that she'd stay in a corner, and if anyone would come close enough, then she would help them. She's not going towards them. And so it feels like
yeah.
2 with the 1 or any of the types of the rejection or the frustration wing has like a singular ideal. Like I want to find this singular ideal position, versus the attachment has more of a web, sort of getting the attachment from other people, and so there can be a wider focus. Whereas the frustration wings is like, this is the position that matters, and if you come close enough, then I can help you.
Yeah. And all the double hex heads have like an over specialization thing to them, that's like, yeah, like I don't have like basically so I don't have to adapt. Whatever it is. That's pretty interesting.
So one of the ways that I see, and this is kind of, I don't know, in response to what John, you were saying about like the withdrawn, compliant, assertive, and like their boundaries or whatever. I more see it as that the assertive types are willing to push against the outside. So it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily see it's about boundaries because I don't see 3 as having boundaries necessarily. They're very exposed on an image level, and they're very like sensitive to the response of the way that they're witnessed by people. However, with the assertive thing, there still is a willingness to push against what is just like outside of, they're willing to push their agenda against whatever.
That's a boundary though.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you
can't push against if you don't have a solid.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I see the withdrawn as like almost like an unwillingness to push against. Like it's more just like a distaste for like what's going out there. So I'm just going to stay in here because I don't want to have to be interrupted by what you're doing, what this person's doing, what exists on the outside. Okay, so that's kind of, as I'm seeing it, kind of how the difference between assertive and withdrawn. And then with compliant, I think that and I've said this before, but I think the compliance comes in that it gets its job done by contending with other. Like it gets its like ego project done in compliance, as it works with other people. Like one cannot complete its like job unless it is working with the material that it needs to work with. Same with 6. That's why 6 needs feedback on everything it does. And same with 2. 2 cannot do its care project unless it is in relationship with something else. So I think the reason I'm bringing all that up is because like that's another angle with 2ing 3. 2ing 3 is more willing to push against what's on the outside. It's still adaptable because 3 is adaptable. But it's more willing to push against what is there on the outside to get its job done. Whereas I'm thinking of what you just said with Alex Giroux. Whereas because 2ing 1 maybe needs other in a more, you guys kind of know where I'm going. Whereas 2ing 1 needs to be contending with other, 2ing 1 almost needs to be invited.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
Or like it needs to be in cooperation with something. Like it's not adaptable, but it needs to be in cooperation with something.
Yeah, that's it's like occupying a position. It's like, and that's something that she made a point of on the 2 call that we did, is that she's not, these stereotypes around 2 she doesn't relate to.
Right, like she's not here to like necessarily convince anybody of her loving image or to sell anyone on like how caring she is. She's just gonna do it.
How are you distinguishing between the adapting of the 3 wing and then what's the term you're using for 2ing 1? Is like in conversation?
And what did I say? I think I said in collaboration or in cooperation.
And what's the difference? Like, because I mean, I'm not really clear on the distinction.
Well, because attachment type still is based on other people. But it's based on the preferences and the approval and the comfort level of something that is outside of themselves. Where like as 1 doesn't necessarily need positive reflection or positive approval or, any of those green lights that 3 needs. Like 3 is not going to do its thing if it thinks it's looking bad. Whereas 1 will do its thing if it thinks it's looking bad. However, 3 doesn't need the cooperation of another person, whereas 1, I think, does.
Can you elaborate on what that means, like the cooperation?
Yeah, it's maybe not cooperation, but it's interaction of some kind.
I guess like the mental, like the mental sort of chart that I'm using is that withdrawn is trying to not deal with other people. Assertive is trying to push against, and compliant like recognizes that it cannot be removed, but it cannot push against. Like it gets its thing by like working through the web or whatever.
There's got to be a word for that, but I think I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it obviously needs more excavating, but that's kind of where I've been sitting with.
But the thing you said about like the 2-wing 1 has to be invited, that yes, it's like I've recognized or I've identified an area that I believe needs reforming or needs help, and I've built up some competency there, and I'm going to wait because it's so specific. You're going to have to tell me that you want it. It's not adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
So like a death doula is a very fucking specific thing, and it's not really something you need to go sell people on. Like
right, and then on top of that, like when a 2-ing 1 is invited, then it's very much like, okay, you've invited me, it's my way.
Right.
This is how we're doing it because I have the answers and you don't.
Yep.
Whereas 2-ing 3 will kind of push itself on you, but then try to like work with you for what's the best like
They're
outcome
still
for you.
Selling it.
Yeah. But they both still suck. So.
So that's how we're gonna end it. But they both still suck.
But they still suck. We still love you, but you still suck.
Yeah, that's a lot. All right, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm good with that. 2 is tough for me because I don't know how to locate that within myself.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm a 2.
Oh, David. Also, what you said about the back pocket, I've been like so steadily. That seems so true about every single type.
Yeah.
And it's like the way that I see it is the back pocket, your disintegration point, your stress line, whatever, your back pocket, you already have that mastered almost.
Totally.
Mm.
Like,
You know, like
the way I
Yeah.
say it, maybe you've seen it as, it's as if that was your most recent past life.
Yeah, South Node.
And so
yes.
you know the whole
That's interesting.
program.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
with
it's
you.
why like 3s are overdoing doing because they were previously a 9 or whatever.
And that's why all 6s are secretly like cocky as fuck. Like you guys
Yeah.
actually do know
And-
what you're wanting to do. Like just fucking do it.
Al-
Stop asking me for what I think about it.
Also, part of that, the 3 in the back pocket for the 6 is not wanting to be seen as having missed something in the environment or
Mm.
having gotten it wrong, or you know what I mean. There's a lot about, oh, you think, oh well, yeah, you think that I saw that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That kind of,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it explains so much. Like that's why 8s can be so effective as leaders too, because they have that like strategizing and scheming and the like, you know,
Right.
charting everything down.
Mhm.
Matrix
That's why
thinking.
John's a 2.
I'm too.
There it is.
I'm a big old sloppy too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, part of that is the specialness of
Yes.
2. That's part of 4. you
Yes,
Oh
totally.
yeah.
The-
My special
leverage.
love.
yeah.
It's like
I
you
see
spent
it.
your past life loving
Special
everybody.
love.
Now you're just hating everyone.
Yeah, I'm compensating for all the love I have.
Well, that's also
Special
where I
John.
think like the anger of 4 can come from, because it's like, I have the ultimate love. What are you know, that kind of
Yeah.
frustration can come from like, I am the beacon of love. What are you doing?
Don't break my heart, baby.
Yeah.
There's this ocean of love if you weren't so annoying.
If you weren't so frustrating.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to get to frustration. It's
No,
going to be
we-
so fun for me.
I mean, we rag on 2s a lot, but like I have a lot of 2.
Yes.
Like I know I have like it's just very present in our relationship.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah,
I've,
and-
I've had a lot of major connections with 2s. I could go into a whole thing.
I
of
haven't.
about a half dozen and
I have
pretty
none.
significant people in my life. So, just in case you 2s think we're saying you're 100% evil,
I am.
I do have some good stories.
Yeah, to
I'm
reassure all the
saying that.
2s out there is
Yeah.
that we rag on 2 because it's just kind of become a joke. But I mean, I identify a lot with 2.
Yeah.
Speak
I mean, it
for
is a
yourself.
necessary.
Speaking for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say Emeka and I are over here like, absolutely not.
It is like it is a necessary energy, and even like I don't have it in my
Yeah.
type structure. Like I have 3 wing 4, but you know the whole idea that everybody has an inner whatever. Like locating my inner 2 has been very like necessary when John's in his like frustration spin outs, because then I can be like, sit the fuck down. I am what you need. I know how to love. Like shut up. Just sit and take my love.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of 2 over here under this blanket over here. That's right. You.
Yeah, 2
No.
is what the world needs sometimes when it's asked for.
Well, I do feel like, I mean, I think Alex brought this up on that 2 call way back, is that I think there is a lot of energy around 2ness because on a certain level, it's like what we all desperately want and need, right? We all
Yeah.
desperately, like we can't, like, I mean, Julie's point last time was like, no, Courtney's point last time, or on the rejection calls, or time doesn't mean anything to me, but, you know, that we're all, in a sense, not all of us, but most of us have some sense of being either conceived or born with some level of love
Yeah.
present,
Mhm.
and thus at the center of our identity in some way.
Mhm.
And we're all like heartbroken and starved for
Yeah. Fair.
this love. And like, you know, speaking of my 2 stuff, like I think my 2 comes out a lot when I'm coaching. And not from a place of like, hey, yes, yes. But coming from a place of like, I mean, I feel very in my heart zone with the people I'm coaching, and like, you know, I'll have people that like I don't think I would have much of like a social connection with, but then I can really be in that heart space in unconditional way, and like I end up, you know, fucking, this is stupid fuck to say, but like loving everybody I work with, because it's like, you know, I can just, I feel like my heart center can go into their zone a lot, and it's, it really is like a very special place that we're all really starved for, and so
Mhm.
there's a lot of heartbrokenness, and so I think that to be awake to is to be awake to like how much our hearts are starving, which is a pretty terrifying and endless void.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of my early formative story has a lot of stuff around type 2. When I was born, my mother was working, single mother, and I had a nanny who I'm sure was a 2 based on my mother's description of her. and she was my nanny from the time I was born till I was 2.5. And the other thing is that my mother's mother was a 2, and my mother as a 1 was specifically making a point of not being 2-ish. So then when we moved to a small town away from that nanny in upstate New York, and so suddenly I was cut off from this 2 that was my second mother. And that's really kind of the beginning of the weird David Gray story. So
the origin story.
The origin story. And so that's why there's a lot of part of my trip around sort of seducing for that love to come back, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing where like kids that had early other caregivers that were like not a parent, that gets taken away, or nanny or whatever. Like that's a whole area of trauma that I'm sure is like hardly been touched. But that's a real
And then
thing.
as an attachment type, I was like, where did that love object go away?
Yeah, and what do I have to do to get it back?
Yeah.
David Gray being lover of ladies.
That's right.
It's like it's your early matrix was 2 feminine energies.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like
that was the universe was double feminine.
It was double feminine, probably like slightly different flavors of the feminine.
Very very different, because my mother was kind of mannish almost as a 1, and then I wanted. I mean, this is my recollection of it. I kind of wanted that Oedipal thing with an older woman.
Right.
That seemed like that would be the fix, would be for me to be in love with a beautiful mother.
Right.
And so I rejected my mother a lot, actually, and was looking for the second mother many, many times over. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So like what we sometimes can attribute to your 7 fix, which probably was also your 7 fix.
Sure.
But just like wanting to explore all the feminine in these different ways. It's like that's probably your early matrix stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, it just reminds me how often people try to use the Enneagram as a compatibility system matrix, and it's just not taking into account all these different formative templates for attraction, or what we're looking for in a relationship. And I was just thinking about how not just like the culture you grew up in, but there's like a culture of the family. The collection of those individuals creates its own sort of enclosed, self-contained personality or culture, and that's what you grew up in. And regardless of whether you think so or not, like that's a template that you're gonna recognize in a relationship. And so that's a big part of chemistry as well. It's like the way that you relate to the opposite sex or same sex, whatever you're into, or the way you relate to the opposite gender, or that polarity is going to be shaped by your formative relationship to that opposite gender. And so like I've come to terms with that, and how much like your sexual partners might mirror one of your parents in some kind of weird way.
Totally. Yeah, the chemistry thing, like you can't nail it to a type.
That's
I mean, like people, I mean, again, to reference, I always have in the background in my head like the criticisms that I get all the time for whatever, and from the point of view of like how people's thinking gets distorted because I'm always right and they're always wrong. And so, like when people argue with me about like, oh, your definitions of the types are too rigid, it's like, yes, they're extremely rigid because type is really rigid. At the same time, we're not our types. And so it's like, if you just boil people down to compatibility for type, it's absolutely useless. It's like this kind, it's so much more nuanced. Like it all these different, we keep calling them the matrix after Julie was here, but like that thing is people are working that shit out in their present relationships all the time.
Yeah.
I just thought of this as like a separate topic, maybe down but even that idea, reactive rejection versus frustrated rejection versus frustrated can't be rejected, but that kind of attachment rejection, the different flavors of rejection, the different flavors of frustration, and all that kind of stuff could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, because we said just on a recent one, didn't we, that those are the two biggies, is the object relations and the centers.
Basically,
and you and John are both reactive types, but you guys do it in such different ways, where John's like grabbing you and by the neck and this is frustration, where you're just like, ew, bye.
Yeah.
And attachment reactive is just like, insufferable.
Yeah.
So we should do that. That'd be fun.
God, putting it like that, attachment reactive, is just like, oh.
Yeah.
It's just like, stop. Like, where is your middle finger? Just pull it out. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Learn to be a serial killer.
Yeah, it's a great way to sum up what the type is up to when you just say, like, you take any two of them. Like, you could say attachment head type or reactive attachment. And it's like, oh, I get that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, positive frustration. That one's wild.
Yeah.
Assertive positive frustration.
Right.
No, I mean, I think that, just to articulate what I think we know implicitly is, like, what we've been doing with the instincts, with the types, is not just doing clusters of descriptions or even just vibes. There's vibes involved, but it's like narrowing in on the structure. It's like clarifying what the fuck are the instincts from the point of view of like biology and instinctual needs, and then what's the types from the point of view of the centers, the object relations, and all the triads. That it's just a big math equation.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah, and the more people get fluent with the language, it's like, oh shit, like, seeing comments of people in the group saying like, I think some girl was like thanking us for like all the stuff that we're doing. It's like,
I saw that.
The Enneagram is not really useful until you can get fluent in what it's saying, and that means just sort of unspooling what the Enneagram is, like the triads, and now it becomes like not just a description. It's like you have a living impression of what a type is up to in a way that you can actually do something about it in your own life. And so,
it's like a 3-dimensional model.
It totally is. Yeah. Yeah, damn. Even just thinking about this just like made me upset, because I was thinking, okay, positive outlook attachment is 9. That's it. Where it's just like, oh, this isn't working. All right, I'll just do this and it'll work out that way. It's cool. Oh, this isn't working. I'll just go over here and I'll just sit this way instead. Yeah, see, it's fine. It's always fine.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna go.
All right.
Okay, guys.
Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
I love you.